in creating employment and boosting revenue.
This country, we import hinges, Chair. Hinges, we import. Now, I don't know, we can just look at this door here. And if you count, there are about 4 hinges on each door. On average, a house has 5 doors. So that means those are 20 hinges you can make from just one house. If you do 200,000 homes, you do the maths. How many hinges are we talking about? And as much as hinges looks like something we should not be talking about in a national dialogue, hinges could end up being a big industry because you have created the consumptive demand.
However, economic experts argued that increased taxation, debt crisis, and corruption have worsened the economy. The committee is working against time to beat the 30-day deadline that ends on 22nd of this month. The National Dialogue Committee is expected to have its final sitting this coming Thursday as they finalize on their report that they will table before Parliament and further on to President William Ruto as well as the ODM leader Raila Amolo Odinga.
We'll be keeping that tabs on that particular conversation with one of the dailies that we're going to be perusing this morning, having quite the headline where it says, "You are on your own," and it is courtesy of that particular presentation by the cabinet secretaries. They're saying that indeed we are in the red, and instead of offering solutions, Kenyans need to brace more. Can we survive? Well, we can, can't we? We're resilient, but now we need to have austerity measures in place. KCSE is currently underway. We'll have reporters keeping tabs of what is happening across the country. But now it is a wet Tuesday morning, and thousands of Kenyans are affected by the ongoing heavy rains being witnessed in most parts of the country. 825 households in Tana River have been affected by the floods, with the numbers expected to rise. According to the Kenya Red Cross Coast Regional Coordinator Hassan Musa, homes in Tana River and Lamu counties, which are worst affected in the coast region, have been marooned and roads cut off. Here's a story by Halid Abdullahi.
Many families have been left homeless after their houses were submerged following heavy rains that are pounding different parts of the country. Speaking to KBC on phone, Kenya Red Cross Coast Regional Coordinator Hassan Musa revealed that at least 825 homes have been affected by the ongoing floods in Tana River County.
So far for Tana River, yes, we have 825 households affected. And this is mostly in part of Tana North, area of Umoja. These are areas that are marooned. Mm-hmm. And of course, the number may increase depending on the flow of water from upstream.
Hassan has urged residents to move to higher grounds following the havoc occasioned by flash floods.
And now we have actually sent early warnings that they need now to move to higher grounds, because if you look at water level in Garissa Bridge there, it was reading 5.55. Today is reading 5.4. Meaning in the next few days, the people in the lower Tana, that is Tana Delta, they need to move, because definitely after 24 or 36 hours, they'll definitely have the same effect.
This comes as residents of Tana River County, especially those residing along River Tana, have been urged to move to higher grounds. Gassen MP Ali Wario and his Galole counterpart Said Hiribai have warned residents against defying the advisory of the Kenya Meteorological Department.
Naomba nyinyi watu wangu, saa hii msingoje kuathirika zaidi, mwanze kutoka huko juu, pande za juu, kwa sababu hii mvua ni nyingi na itaanza kunyesha nyingi zaidi.
Tahakikisha tuzungumze na serikali ili kwa wakati huu ambao kwa ni mgumu tumeitisha relief food kwa wale ambao kwa wamehitajika, kwa sababu wameondoka katika makazi yao, wameenda sehemu nyingine.
Several parts of the Tana North, including Hola Town, were this weekend submerged in water while people were displaced from their homes. Elsewhere, farmers in Mandera County are grappling with substantial losses after their farms were swept away by floods caused by continuous rainfall in the region. Farmers in Mandera East, particularly in Border Point 1 scheme, are the hardest hit, losing over 35 hectares of farmland.
Iko watermelon, iko kitungu, iko mahindi, iko spinach, iko bilibili, iko maharawe, iko vitu mingi. Na karibu hii shamba inakaribia karibu 1,000,000 hasara.
All their farms, food is all gone, and they're appealing to our officers. And I would urge the national government to come in handy and support the farmers of Mandera.
To one key conversation in as far as matters of politics are concerned is what is going to be happening today, as the County Assembly of Meru is expected to make its case before the Committee of the Whole House to outline the reasons for impeaching Governor Kawira Mwangaza. On Wednesday, Kawira Mwangaza's legal team, comprising of 9 lawyers, will make their case as they seek to insulate her from the impeachment, or rather impeachment by Senate. Here's John Jacob Curia with the details.
The fate of the embattled governor lies in the hands of senators who will from Tuesday listen to her accusers and her defense before a committee of the whole house after members voted last week to have her impeached canvassed in plenary.
I want to plead with our colleagues, even if you're pursuing a particular interest, don't be unfair on the house. Don't cast aspersions to the house and believe that for whatever reason, members will suddenly not reason. That the only way you can concentrate is if you're reduced from being 67 to only 11 of you.
It is the responsibility of this House, Mr. Speaker, to find out whether on the facts and the evidence that threshold has been made.
The hearings will last for 2 days, with the County Assembly expected to take the better part of Tuesday to prosecute its case against the governor and summon witnesses. And like her previous impeachment in December last year, both teams have retained their lead counsels, Dr. Mudhomi Thiankolu for the County Assembly and Elias Mutuma for the governor. Each side has been allowed 9 legal representatives, including the lead counsels. The County Assembly has lined up 7 witnesses and is seeking leave to call more witnesses to the stand to substantiate the 8 charges leveled against her. In what could reveal the scale of split between the governor and the county political leadership, in the witness list is Bohori Member of Parliament, who is also the chair of the Meru Parliamentary Caucus, Mogambiri Ndikiri. Governor Mwangaza will also take the stand to defend herself, or her legal counsels are expected to present 3 other witnesses. All the elected 47 senators will take a vote on each of the 8 charges leveled against her. If the plenary upholds any of the charges, Governor Mwangaza will stand impeached and will cease to hold office. If the plenary dismisses the charges, it will have handed her a political lifeline, booking her slot in the history books as the second governor to survive 2 impeachments within 1 year, effectively dealing a blow to the jinx of governors who have been tried in plenary and survived impeachment.
That's the big question this week. Will Kawira Mwangaza, the first ever female governor to lead the county of Meru, survive this second attempt to impeach her? By now, we're not going through the committee, but by way of plenary, where those have gone before her. Former Governor Mike Sonko as well as former Governor Ferdinand Waitito were not so lucky. They lost their positions. We'll be keeping tabs on that, and that particular journey begins today as MCAs present their case before the Committee of the Whole House from 8:30 a.m. We cross to business. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission could close in January due to funding challenges. SRC Chairperson Lina Mengich told the National Assembly's Committee on Labour that the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is currently in dire financial predicament, which could see it shutting in January next year.
The government last month ordered a budget cut of 10% across ministries and state agencies as part of fiscal consolidation plan that seeks to contain the fiscal deficit. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission, in a meeting with the National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Labour on Monday, disclosed it is facing financial constraints that could cripple operations at the agency.
Even as it was absorbed at 25%, this allocation was within the commission working from home, and that was absorbed at 25% at minimal operations of the commission, where the commissioners are no longer able to come to the commission and they work from home.
We are going to run into issues where we will not be able to meet statutory engagements, obligations.
They say the Commission's budget has been progressively reducing over the years, with a recent budget cut of 61 million shillings that could affect service delivery come January next year.
We are operating on the bare minimum. Now it is being cut to 500. What will happen to us? In fact, it should be increased.
We are likely to close the commission on 1st of January 2024.
That's actually the budget cut. It's 40, 50, 60. Meaning, as we have said over and over, it means that the commission from January will not be able to operate. Basically, that's what it is.
Officials from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission say their work has helped Kenya reduce the wage bill from the previous 51% of Kenya's total revenue to the current 43%, and now want the Parliament to intervene to have their budgetary allocation reviewed upwards. Trevor Ngindo for Prime Edition.
Cooperative Cabinet Secretary, that is Simon Chelugui, has called for the concerted efforts in capacity building and forging strategic partnerships to address the pressing challenges facing cooperatives across the nation. Chelugui, who hosted a delegation of cooperative CEO from United States and the United Kingdom, emphasized the importance of enhancing capabilities of cooperative members and leaders and helping promoting sustainable economic growth.
Cooperatives have long been a crucial part of the country's economic landscape, promoting collective ownership and sustainable economic growth. As of June 2020, there were over 25,000 registered cooperatives, representing over 14 million members and mobilizing savings of over 7.8 billion Kenyan shillings. 63% of Kenyans were reported to derive livelihoods directly or indirectly from cooperatives. Despite their economic contribution, cooperatives face a range of challenges that threaten their vitality, from limited access to resources to changing market dynamics. Cooperatives Ministry says the government will foster international collaborations to empower cooperatives with the knowledge and skills they need to adapt to changing market conditions.
Developments that we have already seen in the past and more that we are rolling. We are happy that the Central Liquidity Facility is now before Cabinet, and the Deposit Protection Fund, which again will assure our members of the safety of their money and assure the country that a shilling in a SACCO is as safe as a shilling in a bank.
And again, Minister, bottom up. It works every time. Go to the people, support the people, help the people on their journey, and the people will build the country.
Chelugui says government will leverage resources and expertise to drive growth and sustainability within the sector.
Kenyan citizen who's not a member of a SACCOs, you are missing out. So you should find this as an opportunity to join your local SACCOs, to support it. It makes for a growing, strong community. For strong.
And the two things you mentioned that are before the cabinet now, the deposit guarantee is so important. Everything you're doing to encourage the development of SACCOs in this country are.
The challenges faced by cooperatives include access to financing, marketing and distribution, governance issues, and adapting to the digital age.
Well, now we speak sports, where the Sakaja Super Cup tournament enters the fifth round of matches this week at various city venues across the city. According to organizers of the event, the quarterfinals draw will be held later in the week after conclusion of the fifth round of matches. The tournament, which attracted 340 teams from Nairobi's 17 sub-counties, kicked off on the 1st of this month and will end with a grand finale on the 16th of next month.
Starehe Sub-County FC Lion backed 3 points after Pangani Youth failed to show up at the Landmawe grounds, prompting the match referee to give a walkover. In Embakasi East Sub-County, Zone C, Savannah Border settled to a 1 draw with Team Unfit. In Zone A, Shainas All-Stars played out a barren draw with Utawala Youth, as did Nairobi Legends and Soweto Hope in their Zone C encounter. In Kasarani Sub-County at the Muhure Mosheri grounds, Kasarani Mid-Hill granted Stamford a walkover after failing to turn up for their matches. The Leventis and Roy Sportive played out to a barren draw at the same venue. In Embakasi North Sub-County matches, Kariobangi FC defeated Dandora Indomitabu by 4 goals as Clever beated Shainas FC 2-1. Embakasi Central Sub-County Iraqi Foundation defeated Blue Sky 5-1 as Kayole South got a walkover after Matopen United failed to turn up for the match. In Dagoretti South Sub-County, Mseto saw off Udhero Dreamers with a Tony Luin as Faith Holmes saw off Mathare ERC by a solitary goal.
That effectively puts a cap on matters news this morning. Be sure to visit our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke for further details as we all focus on what is going to be happening today. A moment in history begins, especially for Meru County, where Kawera Mwangaza is going to be defending her position, as governor after that particular process of impeachment began last week, and now we're going to be doing it through plenary. Today, from 8:30, members of the County Assembly, Meru County, are going to be presenting their case before the Committee of the Whole House, and we're sure going to be keeping tabs on that. And when it comes to matters of your safety, is that the Meteorological Department has issued a warning to several residents actually across the country in various places where we expect storms. Just to take through that particular warning, Tharaka Nithi, Meru, Murang'a, Lamu, Kilifi, Samburu, especially Maralal, Kakamega and Bungoma. We're expecting storms, as well as that is going to be followed by probably flooding, or rather flowing water, where the Meteorological Department actually goes anti and tells you, safety first, do not test the depth of the water with your feet. I'm Regina Manyara. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Helping me have my baby? Of course I am. It's really an honor for me, honestly.
I didn't start this clinic to get rich, son. I did it to help the people of the town. And I will not let you to destroy it. You should have seen the state Sergio was in. It's not fair, Amparo.
Arturo, what is happening to you? Arturo, what's wrong? Arturo! Oh my goodness! Arturo, stay with me, please! Rosa!
It's a cocktail of emotions. The puns that cracks up the family. Greed that yields power and a hunger for success. Friends turn to foes. Survival for the fittest is the drive.
Who are we blackmailing?
But nothing beats the feud in a family where one disappears and another fights for the crown.
It was not supposed to go this far.
It's the desire to succeed that keeps us going, the deception that keeps us digging, and the laughter pill that keeps us living.
Welcome back. We look at what the papers are saying this morning, and on the front page of the Star newspaper, Kenya paying for Uhuru's blunder. That is according to Ruto's men. This is a story that is continued on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Kenya paying for Uhuru's mistakes, Ruto's men declare. Some of the things they have said is that fuel subsidies were not a sustainable plan for the government and only benefited a few rich people in the society. This is because the consumption basket on fuel for the people at the bottom of the pyramid is marginal compared to the rich members of the society. You can get more details on this story on page 4 of the Star newspaper. Another story that is actually the photos that are on the front page of the Star newspaper is how the floods are wreaking havoc in some parts of the country following heavy rains that have started raining last month. And the weatherman says the rains will continue up to January, and people are cautioned to take care during these rains, especially in areas where the floods are likely to cause damage. Another story on the second page of the Star newspaper is Njiru residents now want eviction orders stopped. You remember this is a story that took the center stage when Njiru residents received eviction orders to vacate the land belonging to former MP Kerima. Now, the residents of Njiru Estate in Nairobi have now moved to court seeking stay orders against a judgment that directed that they be evicted from over 1,000 acres of land belonging to a deceased politician, Kericho Kerima. Of course, we'll be following that story, and we'll be telling you how it goes, how it turns out. All right. Another story is concerning floods. 15 people and livestock die as heavy rains pound Kenya. Red Cross says over 15,000 households have been affected as more downpour is forecasted. Victor, what's happening on your end?
Absolutely. On the front page of the Daily Nation here, it's about the high cost of petrol. 300 shillings a litre for petrol on the cards. 300 shillings a litre for petrol on the cards. That is what you have on the front page of the Daily Nation. Amidst the expectation that fuel prices will drop by next week when the government releases its monthly review, given the recent decline in global crude prices, Energy Cabinet Secretary, that is Davis Chirchir, yesterday warned that the fuel prices could rise to historic high due to the Israel-Hamas war. This would make life even more difficult for many Kenyans struggling under the current high cost of living. That is the situation. Neighboring country, Tanzania, has reduced the fuel prices for the month of November. How is it going to be for us here? Dawn crash claims 11 people. 11 people died at dawn yesterday when a matatu and a lorry collided head-on on the busy Nakuru-Eldoret highway. 8 people died on the spot, while 3 others succumbed to their injuries as they were being rushed to hospital. That happened around Ngata Gate in Nakuru County. Defamation, and Talami asked court to rule in her favor. That is also there. Remember, there is a story that has been going on social media for quite some time of a rendition of Migosi pupils doing the Mbilia Bell, a song that has actually gone viral. So I've been featured here. It went viral, and as a fan of Rumba, I think I like it. Yes.
They did well.
Yeah.
They did well.
As a fan of Rumba.
Well, by the way.
Energy CS says that fuel prices could hit 300 shillings a litre due to Israel war, but at some point he also explained that would actually change to 150 shillings per barrel, not per litre, due to the global prices. And remember, I asked about the global price drop of crude oil versus the war between Hamas and Israel. He also was at pains to explain that. Ruto enlists experts in peacekeeping teams that escorted the president. President says that police, military, researchers, civilians, academics' input will aid in finding lasting solutions. That is what is here. State warns against cheating as KCSE exams begin countrywide. That began yesterday, where 119,396 candidates sat the test in Central Region, and 52,958 was the number of candidates in Coast Region. So some regions experienced logistical challenges owing to heavy rains, and examination papers had to be airlifted on helicopters because of the heavy rains. Still, we wish all the students all the best in the examination. Mudavadi's long-serving advisor, Kabatesi, now resigns. Remember, a few weeks ago, there was a bit of some back and forth between him and Koskei over who was supposed to be taking an office at the railways. So now, his fate appears to have been sealed after taking on Koskei in tussle over office space and roles. That is what is happening here. Scores of settlers on Kirima land appeal ruling. Hundreds of families facing eviction from land owned by the family of the late billionaire Gershon Kirima in Njiru have appealed in court ruling that ordered them to vacate more than 1,000 hectares. Okay, so gone. Within minutes, Quickmart loses 94 million shillings to Wells Fargo staff. That's what happened yesterday when the counter, which was faring 94 million shillings to a nearby for banking, went missing. And what happened? 94 million shillings gone in the wind. All right, that's as far as that's what's happening. In the world of sports, what were Chelsea? Asante Sana, you did well. Beating Tottenham, that was a good show. And still here, ignore El Nino warning at your peril. That's according to the weatherman. He says that the President Ruto last month played down the forecast, saying that rains won't be as bad as predicted. But now the weatherman, according to the Kenya Meteorological Department Director Dr. David Gikunju, he says that listen to what the weatherman is saying. Okay, how about I give you a quick look at what we have on the traffic just before you leave your house. All right. Well, let's take a look at the traffic situation. Let me start with the capital city, that is Nairobi. Vivian is preparing to take on her interview. Now, Thika Road is already a mess as we start from there, KCA University. That again has been necessitated by the heavy rains that's now been pounding part of the country and even the city here. Starting from KCA University, coming all the way to the Iga Square, already a mess. That's spilling over to Kiambu Road, slightly towards the Directorate of Criminal Investigations there. But that is starting to ease once you get past the Pangani Shopping Center as you come towards Globe Roundabout. That is the situation on Thika Road. But Limuru Road is no better. This is what's happening around Parklands and City Park Road, around City Park Market there. The construction happening around that place is actually creating a lot of traffic. Now that extends slightly towards Regal Plaza, but it's coming all the way as you join the Forest Road. But after that is also actually happening towards Museum Hill. So if you're using that road or alternatively can get an alternative route, please do so. If you're coming from the western side of the city, that is all the way from Kangemi down to ABC Place, coming all the way to Westlands Shopping Center, all moving pretty fine. That is Uhuru Highway coming into the CBD, a bit busy just as you come towards, as you get out of the city, joining Uhuru Highway, but outbound is totally okay. Generally, that's okay. Mombasa Road, so far so good. What Mombasa Road, all the way from that side of Machakos or Mlolongo, so far, Mkosawa, you can come to work or drive to the city. That is how it looks like. What about Langata Road? Langata Road, so far so good. I think this is because we have got several bypasses here. You can either go to Karen, then join Ngong Road, or just use the bypass, or come. There's a bypass which was built somewhere in Kibra. So that actually makes that work so easy. If you're joining Langata Road to Ngong Road, so far so good. All right. That's what it looks like. How about Watu Kisumu? Good morning, Kisumu. All looking fine. That is from we got Gardens coming all the way from to Kondele roundabout. So far, so good. Kisumu. Nini happened? Okay. Outbound, outside heading towards Ahero. So far, so good towards the airport. Pia iko sawa, as far as that's concerned. Finally, let's head to Mombasa. Good morning, Coast. Let me just refresh that a bit. Mombasa, this is what it looks like. Okay. Around Kongoya Market, as you head towards from Nyali all the way from Pirates Beach, a bit of some traffic there at the Bamburi junction there, but some spots of traffic being experienced at the Nyali Road. But after that, moving into the CBD. How about the Likoni Ferry Channel? Today it looks okay. Watu Mombasa, kuna nini? Something is not happening here. It's okay today. So that's what it looks like. Watu Mombasa, please be nice to us. The festive season is here. Watu Kasisi, maybe Vivian should tell us whether she's going to Mombasa or not. We need a beach boy to give Vivian a tour of what Mombasa looks like. How about we go to our international news? The war in Israel and Gaza. UN says that Gaza becoming a graveyard for children as Israeli strikes intensify. This is what's on the front page of the BBC with updates from the reporters there. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres now warns Gaza is becoming, quote-unquote, a graveyard for children as Israeli airstrikes intensify. He says that the case of humanitarian ceasefire becomes more urgent with every passing hour. That's on the BBC. Finally, Gaza ceasefire becomes more urgent with every passing hour. Again, on the France 24. That's according to UN chief. In a televised address on Monday, Guterres said that ceasefire becomes more urgent with every passing hour. So that is what is happening across our borders. And we usually say, once your neighbor's house is on fire, never sleep. All right. Vivian, have you ever been to Mombasa? If you've not, please
that I should find a beach boy to show me around Mombasa. What you don't know is that I am a mwenyeji when it comes to Mombasa. I've actually stayed in Mombasa for so many years, so you should hire me to show you around Mombasa.
Okay, I apologize. Take it away.
You should be very sorry.
All right.
Anyway, from what is happening in the headlines, we now get straight into the discussion that I had mentioned when we were beginning the show, and that is on the rise, or rather, the rising burden of cancer in the country. And the question that we are asking ourselves is where are we exactly? How far are we in this fight against cancer, and what is to be done? What is yet to be done? What are some of the challenges that are facing the people who are in charge of trying to find out what can be done and the strategies put in place on this particular matter, which is cancer? As I also mentioned, that cancer is the third leading cause of death in this country and the second leading cause of death when it comes to non-communicable diseases. And joining me for this particular discussion is none other than Dr. Elias Meli, who is the CEO, National Cancer Institute of Kenya, and he is here to just delve into this matter and get to tell us where exactly we are as a country matters cancer. Welcome to the show, Dr. Elias.
Thank you.
You're doing well?
Yeah. Good morning, Vivian, and good morning, viewers across the country. Want to appreciate KBC and Vivian, who is hosting me this morning, for this opportunity to discuss with Kenyans on a matter that is significant at this point in time.
Yeah.
And before we begin, I would really want to, send my heartfelt sympathy for the people of Gaza, who, from the news we are seeing or we are hearing, it's becoming a graveyard.
Yeah.
And even those who died in the road crash. At the same time, those who unfortunately have also lost their lives to cancer. As you rightfully mentioned, Vivian, this is one disease that it is really giving everyone sleepless nights.
It is.
Everybody's worried. What is going to become of me? There are many people who are being diagnosed with cancer who they never thought they would have, been diagnosed. No risk factors, according to them, that they've been exposed completely.
Yeah.
But we're going to deliberate on this in a short while. For sure, the burden of cancer globally is increasing. It's not only in Kenya. It is one disease that every other country in the globe is worried, just like we're worried about climate change. Crisis that we are seeing across the world. Cancer is also that disease that aligns itself to the global crisis, including the economy that is struggling. And of all the diseases, this is one disease, unfortunately, that is causing a lot of physical, harm. It causes psychosocial challenges, economic. People, get depleted of all their resources because of one very expensive disease. And unfortunately, after investing all the resources, we find ourselves also, these patients losing their lives, which is most important. If you look at the statistics globally, we are worried that every year up to almost 20 million people being diagnosed with cancer. And our country is contributing to these statistics, where the burden in our country has estimates of more than 42,000 Kenyans being diagnosed every year. And unfortunately, 70% of them, they succumb to this disease. We are looking at a mortality rate of 70%. What does that mean? For every 100 people diagnosed with cancer, 70 of them dies, by the end of 1 year. And if you break that down into male and female and children, we are seeing the burden of breast cancer very, very high in those who are diagnosed, new patients, while cervical cancer is head-to-head, amongst our ladies, amongst our girls, our mothers, our grandmothers. It is of concern because cervical cancer is one disease that should not kill anybody.
Yeah, because there's the HPV that we can be able to get and, avoid, or rather not get into the risk of getting cervical cancer.
Correct.
But what is wrong? Is it that we're not doing enough awareness? Being that, cervical cancer, as you've mentioned, is on top of the list of the number of people who are dying, due to cervical cancer. Is it that we're not putting it out there enough?
Well, the reason why I'm here this morning, Vivian, is to create that awareness so that those who unfortunately might not have had, and we're using many different ways of now to increase awareness in the community. And I really want to appreciate, one way of creating a lot of attention into cancer care is establishment of the National Cancer Institute of Kenya, which is a dedicated agency under Ministry of Health to deal with matters cancer specifically. Yeah. There is no better time that our country can address this problem than right now when we have resources committed through one agency to, slay this dragon. And before I come back into the details of cervical cancer, because I really want us to dwell on what we call preventable cancer, that risk factors are well known and interventions are right there. We are talking of among the males, prostate cancer is leading, and we have cancer of the esophagus coming second, and it's affecting both male and females. We have colorectal cancer. These are cancers of the large intestines and the rectum. It's also another huge challenge in our country among the leading. And we have lately seen even cancers that we would not think would be prevalent in low middle income countries, like Africa and Asia and East Europe and Latin America. But now we are seeing them. Lung cancer is on the rise. Every type of cancer, brain tumors, name them, liver cancers, they are here with us. Head and neck cancers, they are here with us. And among our children, because we always want to sensitize about children as well. Being the Chief Executive Officer of the National Cancer Institute of Kenya, I have to address all the matters, of the entire country. Because unless every corner of this country gets to be aware about cancer, then we will not achieve our mandate, which is cancer prevention, towards reducing the burden of cancer in our country. And if you look at 75% of cancers, and it's good for Kenyans to be aware that we run a huge challenge. 75% of cancers are diagnosed in the West, high-income countries, while 25% are diagnosed in low, middle-income countries. But unfortunately, 75% of deaths occurs in low middle income countries. So we are in a country where we are faced by a huge challenge. Now we have, cancer being one huge disease, but if you break it down into specific diseases, then you will understand that we are going to handle cervical cancer separately, we'll handle prostate cancer separately. This month is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. In fact, we are always being asked as men, no shave. Did you know that, Vivian?
No shave?
I know right now I'm expected to be...
No shave November, yes, it is.
No shave November, right?
Yeah.
Just to stand with the men who are diagnosed with prostate cancer and probably, create awareness towards what are the risk factors and how can you prevent yourself. Yeah. So we look at our government because this is a challenge that is facing Kenyans, and it's the responsibility of every government to put mitigating measures in place towards, addressing the health issues. As much as health is a big challenge in our country, there are specific conditions that we really need to give additional, attention. Let me appreciate our government. If you look at the Kenya Kwanza government through, His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, health was a huge, huge agenda. And in their manifesto, it is cut out. Recently, the President launched UHC, Universal Health Coverage. This is going to be a game changer, including, prevention of cancer and early detection of cancer through community health and primary health care. And we are glad that at this point, every Kenyan in this country will afford, basics of cancer care from prevention in the community using the community health promoters, who at this point in time, we are skilling, we are also reskilling and unskilling, because some of them have been community health volunteers. So we're giving them more information so that they can address this challenge in the community. With focusing on prevention, it is documented in data that if you are going to invest, $1 in prevention, you are going to save up to around $15 in treatment. What does that mean? We are going to reduce the cost of expenditure in our healthcare in general if we put more emphasis on prevention. In our country, for the longest time, we've been focusing on curative treatment. To treat cancer, Vivian, is very expensive. And I know viewers agree with me that people have sold, all they had. And now our country has come through for them. Remember the recently laws that the president assented to, the bills that now are laws, to actualize universal health coverage. The former NHIF, which is now Social Health Authority, is going to have 3 funds. Number 1, primary health care fund. It is going to handle issues on level 1, level 2, level 3. We are asking Kenyans that it's now yourself to present to the hospital when you have a challenge. And we have these community health promoters to teach you on the risk factors and how to prevent. And at level 4, 5, 6, which are our county hospitals and sub-county and national referral hospitals, you have social health insurance fund that is going to take care of you. And further, if you exhaust that, our country has prepared for you through critical illness, emergency and chronic disease fund to take care of anything that your social health insurance fund has not addressed. So cost will not be a barrier anymore in our country. And we really have to appreciate our president. We have to appreciate our leadership at the Ministry of Health through our Cabinet Secretary, Madam Susan Nakumicha, and the entire leadership because of this.
Now, just as you've mentioned, the government is really working on easing the burden when it comes to cost, the cost of treatment of cancer as well as other major diseases. Now, what other strategies maybe is the institution putting in place in the prevention and the control of cancer?
Thank you very much. The National Cancer Institute of Kenya, which is the prime institution to face this head-on, was created a while back, and right now it is re-energized, it is rebranded, it is working now towards really addressing the burden. We have one of our functions is prevention, as you've rightfully put it. So we are doing cancer mainstreaming across ministries, departments and agencies. An agency like KBC, you have so many staff. From the National Cancer Institute of Kenya, we will be visiting you if at all there are any risks that are posed by working at KBC. But let me go to specific areas where we know there are major risk factors, like our Ministry of Agriculture. There is so much exposure of chemicals in the community, in the farmlands, and it's really a huge challenge that our people are ignorantly using chemicals without any personal protective gear. And there has been chemicals which have specifically been associated with cancer causation. Tobacco, alcohol, these are the leading, risk factors for cancer. And in our country, it is good morning. I can see a cup of coffee or tea over there. I wish you could drink more coffee and tea than we are using alcohol. And those who are using cigarettes, because it is one universal risk factor for all types of cancers. And if we're going to reduce this use in the community, we will have cut out. We are looking at diet. Whatever you took for breakfast, lunch, are you sure that it is healthy? Are you sure it's in the right quantity? Are you sure it's at the right time? So we have to mainstream on this physical inactivity. By the roads of Nairobi this morning, it was like a parking lot. People are on their vehicles. People are hardly walking. If you go to Europe, people are riding bicycles. But in our country, as much as the economy is tough, it's very interesting that we are buying more cars and we are becoming more inactive. These are risk factors because we cannot metabolize a lot that is within us, which unfortunately they pose risk factors for us. Obesity has been flanked as one of the risk factors for cancer because when you break down fat, ultimately it becomes some hormones that would risk, you being diagnosed with cancer, including breast cancer. So if you look at these risk factors, if we're going to address this, 40 to 50% of cancers are actually preventable. If we are going to make sure we observe, make sure we reduce these risk factors where it is possible. And if we are going to address this issue, the mortality rate of 70% may come down to less than 30%. So one of the major strategies at the National Cancer Institute of Kenya that we are putting in place is to make sure that prevention, we think prevention, and we create awareness on prevention people do not know. And if you look at cervical cancer, we had mentioned earlier on, cervical cancer, we have, WHO call to eliminate cervical cancer by 2030. And three simple strategies, which we are now putting in place. 90% of our girls by 15 years, they should have been vaccinated with HPV. It's available, it's affordable. Government is going to fund it. So none of our girls should not be vaccinated. I know we are facing a lot of challenges on the myths and perceptions. People are worried that it may cause infertility in our girls, but that is not really, the real thing. If you look at countries who began vaccination for cervical cancer in the 90s, Australia is going to be the first country. Many other countries in Europe are going to eliminate this. And we are now asking our ladies, by the time you are 35 and 45 years, you should at least have gotten screening for cervical cancer. And we are asking you can do a pap smear, you can do HPV DNA test, you can do VIA, villi. These are all modalities that we are using to screen cervical cancer. But the best, that has the highest sensitivity and specificity, if you can, that is unlikely to have, misses, is HPV DNA test. It's a bit costly, but we really want to also go for quality. Because this is one other thing that we are focusing at National Cancer Institute of Kenya, to make sure when you get diagnosed with cancer, it is quality treatment.
Dr. Meli, it's really unfortunate that I have to cut you short because we need to wind up this conversation. But I believe that you are going to avail yourself maybe some other day so that we get
I could just end with the last
very
strategy.
Quickly because of time.
Yes, so that we just get done with this cervical cancer, because I mentioned that it should not kill anybody in our country. The last bit of the strategy is those who are screened, because we're emphasizing screening. Today we'll not talk about treatment. Let me just end at screening. When another opportunity presents itself, then we can talk about treatment, and so that we can educate our people. So the last bit is treat all those who are diagnosed with cancer, 90% of them. And if we do that, Vivian and our viewers across the country, we will eliminate cervical cancer. Thank you very much for having me here today.
We are looking forward to a time when we will be able to eliminate cervical cancer completely. And as you've put it, we're looking by 2030, we should be done with cervical cancer. Now, Dr. Meli, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to definitely find more time to get into this, if possible, this month, so that we can get into prostate cancer and that you can educate us more on that. Now, from here, I'll take a very short break, but Mike Megwe is up next on Health Matters as well.
would you do something like that? Come on, that cat is my pet. You threw my cat out.
I never expected my mom to say that to us. I also thought she was being unfair. My mom doesn't get to dictate if or when I marry you. You know that.
Have you forgotten where we are right now? You can't hold my hand.
I'm not allowed to hold my girlfriend's hand?
Hey,
I'm going up the escalator now.
I suggest you go see a doctor and leave me alone.
I'm insane because I miss you too much. Cheyenne, I was wrong.
KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to Happening in the World of Entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be parts of the intelligent conversation up at KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interest of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges, and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
So you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
haha nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hota
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Shoro FM.
Music can be magical. It's the soul for life and gives immense peace to us. It has a powerful therapeutic effect on the human psyche. Whether secular or gospel, there's a song for everyone, every occasion.
What? Are you really helping me have my baby?
Of course I am. It's really an honor for me, honestly.
I didn't start this clinic to get rich, son. I did it to help the people of the town. And I will not let you to destroy it. You should have seen the state Sergio was in. It's not fair, Amparo.
Arturo, what is happening to you? Arturo, what's wrong? Arturo! Oh my goodness! Arturo, stay with me, please! Rosa!
Why would you do something like that? Come on, that cat is my pet. You threw my cat out.
I never expected my mom to say that to us. I also thought she was being unfair. My mom doesn't get to dictate if or when I marry you. You know that.
Have you forgotten where we are right now? You can't hold my hand.
I'm not allowed to hold my girlfriend's hand?
Hey, I'm going up the escalator now.
I suggest you go see a doctor and leave me alone.
I'm insane because I miss you too much. Cheyenne, I was wrong.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. This is Health Tuesday, and in studio with me I have three very passionate guests when it comes to matters mental health and addiction. To my far left, I'm joined by Dr. Wade, who is a psychologist and a licensed medical health counselor, and in the middle is Dr. Evangeline Wangeshi, who is a public health practitioner and innovative leader in integrated mental health care. And on my immediate left is Dr. Kalyan Dawson, who is the Director of Training and Organizational Development. Welcome to the show. We are talking about mental health and addiction. Maybe to start off, what is the nexus between mental health and addiction, Dr. Wade?
There can be quite a connection because when people have issues in their life, any sort of mental health issue, then they turn to a substance for relief. Now, obviously, that is considered a negative coping skill, as we call it. There are obviously many more positive coping skills that one could partake in, but unfortunately, a lot of people turn to substances when they have some sort of mental health issue. They can also, if you are using alcohol, for example, too much, there in turn can create a lot of issues in your life, relationship issues. It can create symptoms of depression, stress. So there's a high connection between both of them.
Yes. So the interplay between mental health issues and addiction. So the question would be, what comes first? Is it mental health or addiction?
Goodness, it's hard to answer because there's so many factors that play into that.
Yes.
So one, I tend to go to the side of something is going on in their life that they are using a substance. Now, granted, they may start to use a substance as a good time with friends, and they don't see it as an issue. But then the more that they use, the more they think they feel better. So there, in turn, it creates some mental health issues. Yes.
So, still talking on about mental health and addiction, Dr. Evangeline, talk about the causes of mental health and addiction.
Well, the causes varies. Again, it depends on your life experiences. Life experiences, it could be maybe I had childhood trauma, and because of my own emotional pain, I opt to numb the pain by using drugs or alcohol. So it all varies, and sometimes it's genetic. You'll find there's some families, the great-grandfather had depression, the father had, other mental health disorders, or they were addicted to alcohol. Really, in my own family, all the boys drink, and all of us girls, nobody touches any drink. So it all varies. Again, our social determinants of health, our levels of education or unemployment, physical health issues, it all depends. So it's a tough question, but the beauty of this is, as we normalize these conversations about addiction and mental health, it's paying attention to addressing the issues together. They must be addressed together.
Now, when it comes to addiction, people often use it as a means. Addiction may be caused by predisposing factors, like, let's for instance, lack of jobs, lack of money, lack of even parental care. Now, that leads to a situation where a person may even get depressed. Now, how do we approach a person who is dealing with addiction and help them overcome that addiction without interfering with their mental, because some of these addiction issues are caused by mental health. How do you revolve around addiction and still touch on the mental well-being of the person?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. If someone is addicted to alcohol, this is not a quick fix. Maybe they've been drinking for the last 10 years, 20 years, we don't know. Yes. But when they're going through, they are willing and hopeful to change. They do want to change. We need to put them through detoxification, yes, where they must be observed by a medical team to make sure that, some people have physical health issues. It could be diabetes, high blood pressure. Yes. So when they're going through detox, we want to make sure that they are safe. Once they go through the detoxification, then we can address the mental health issues. Because when someone is numbing the pain, assuming it's whatever the pain is, it's hard to know whether they're depressed or they're schizophrenic or it's bipolar disorder. So address the addiction detoxify the patient, and then address the mental. You'll be able to assess them, do a comprehensive clinical assessment to understand what is the mental disorder that the person is struggling with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about risk factors. There's something you said about genetic predisposition and how it plays a role in vulnerability to mental health and addiction. Maybe Dr. Dawson, before I come to you, Dr. Wade, talk about how genetic predisposition plays a role in increasing vulnerability to mental health and addiction.
Yeah, so with substance abuse and addiction, 40 to 60%, the predisposed to addiction factor is there, 40 to 60%. That doesn't mean, though, that just because that is a higher rate that oh no, I'm already going to be addicted to a substance. But you do have to be careful, because if you are predisposed to something like that, just like if you are diabetic, you have hypertension, something like that, you have to be mindful of that. So you can stop the cycle, even if there's a generation of addiction in your family. That doesn't mean that you're doomed and that you are going to end up addicted, but you do have to watch that. And I recommend, if you have a high risk factor, if you have a lot of individuals in your family that are addicted to a substance, I recommend you stay away from that substance, because you have to be mindful, because the genetic component is there, and then mixed with any sort of other life factors, it makes a difference.
Yes. Dr. Dawson, trauma is one of the risk factors that lead to mental health and addiction. Talk about the relationship between the two.
Well, first of all, let me share what trauma is.
Yes.
Trauma is when something happens to you that just overwhelms your body so much to the point where you're not thinking clearly, and it causes you to want to relieve the pain by doing something. And that something you do may be something like going to alcohol or drugs, because it makes you feel good enough, but it never resolves the issue. So you become, you continue to do it to relieve the pain, and it just becomes cyclical. And so that's how, it's like that trauma is just overwhelming. And for children, it actually disrupts the growth of the brain. And it actually causes children, it impacts them at a younger age, and it stays there for a lifetime if there's no intervention, if there's no help with it. And so we have to be mindful of how that trauma, that stress overwhelms us, and make sure that we're doing the right things, easy things, to mitigate what's happening and the damage that stress is causing us internally.
Yes.
Because it actually can age you so much to the point where you're old on the inside, but you look young. And that's why men may die earlier than women, because of the stress that they carry, and they never talk about it. And yeah.
Why is it that men find it hard to talk about this issue, especially when it comes to mental health? Why is it hard for men to talk about this issue?
That's such a good question. And this is not just a Kenyan issue. This is an international issue. Men everywhere have a hard time talking about issues about their personal health.
Yes.
And we have to understand that mental health is good health. Your mental health is a part of your general health. And without good mental health, you really have no good general health. Because people think, if I feel good, I'm exercising. But if your mental clarity is not there, it's all for naught.
Yeah.
And then if your physical health is good, if your mental health is good, but you physically aren't taking care of yourself, you're still in the same position. So it's a combination of both those things that must be taken care of.
Yes. Dr. Evangeline, what can individuals with a family history of these conditions do to mitigate their risk?
Well, we need to normalize the conversation because of the stigma. There's a lot of stigma. People are not feeling comfortable, just admitting that I am not okay. Mm-hmm. I think we are here to say it is okay to say I am not okay, because it's out of that then you get the help that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So just because your family is vulnerable to these illnesses, it doesn't mean there's no hope. There is hope. But we need to normalize the conversation. We need to encourage people. Talk to somebody. Please, reach out for help. Call for a professional to, express yourselves and let a professional guide you on how to mitigate some of these issues. There are times we just cannot do it alone. You need somebody else.
But then do we create that safe space for a person to come to you and say, I have this issue, how can you help? Do we have that safe space? Because the world is judgmental. And
absolutely it is.
People with mental health issues have been stigmatized. Do we have that safe space?
You know what we do, because you and I are having this conversation right now, right? We are normalizing the conversation. We're encouraging people. When somebody has diabetes or cancer or some chronic illness, why is it so easy or easier for us to talk about that and support that person or family member? And someone who comes to us with, I'm hearing voices, or I am depressed, severely depressed, bipolar disorder and all. Why are we having challenges supporting these family members, our friends, our peers, our employees? An illness is an illness. That's right. And these are human beings. And we need to be passionate and compassionate to take care of each other. Be your brother's keeper. And take care of them. Yeah, it's okay.
Still on stigma. It also stems from misconceptions and stereotypes. Now, how do we address, or how does this contribute to the growth of these misconceptions and lack of awareness?
Here's the challenge. When we stigmatize or we don't want to talk about these issues, then assuming I'm having challenges with sleep, or I'm depressed, or appetite is poor and all of that, then it would be very difficult for me to reach out for help. And therefore the illness doesn't go away. It keeps getting worse. So the more we are we are hiding that, oh no, I'm fine. You're not fine. Your family will not be fine. Your society will not be fine. You will not be productive at work. Whether you're a banker, whatever your position is in the society, you will not be productive. So back to normalizing the conversation, come out and say, I am not okay, and let's support that person.
Dr. Duson, another aspect of stigma concerning mental health and addiction is self-stigma. It is often overlooked. I'd like to hear your views on how it affects individuals and how they can overcome it. Self-stigma.
That's really, you're asking some very wonderful questions. It's important for us to understand still that what we believe and think about ourselves matters. It manifests itself daily. If I believe I'm doing well, then I do well. But if I know something's wrong with me and I'm not talking about it, it manifests itself still. And you see people who act, they want to act like they're healthy, but they can't because they are in a place where clear thoughts aren't coming through. They're in a place where they're just unable to really actually present themselves clearly. And so that's when we want to make sure that we got somebody to talk to so we can get and talk and understand what is actually happening to us. And without that relationship, see, when it comes to the stigmas, having a relationship with someone that you can talk to helps clear your head, helps clear you to the point where you can actually confess that, yes, I do need some help. Yes, I can't, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? And it gets you in a place where you can actually talk and present yourself a lot better.
All right. Now, Dr. Wade, how can we reduce this stigma towards people suffering from mental health and addiction? Because it's one of the factors that contributes to the downward spiral of these conditions, especially in the country. What can we do to alleviate this, to reduce stigma and actually stem it out?
Yes, I loved how Dr. Wangeshi was talking about telling people, you know, I'm not okay. I think in turn, asking your coworker, your brother, your sister, your boss, I don't know about your boss, but depending on the relationship, but to ask them, are you okay? And just to have that back and forth and for, you know, that conversation, because it's so important, because I will be more apt to tell you if I'm not okay if I'm asked as well. So I would recommend to normalize that conversation about, hey, you seem a little down today. Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do? And to hopefully open that up. I encourage employers to really be mindful about their employees, just anyone who has subordinates, you know, to be able to be mindful of how they're acting. If they're acting a little different, family members, please don't be afraid to ask if you are okay as well.
Yes.
Mike, to Dr. Wade's point, one good thing is that when people say, we get questioned all the time saying, how are you? How are you?
Yeah.
And how are you? And we say, I'm fine. I'm fine. But we're not fine. So we need to open that up sometimes. And when someone says, how are you? We actually say the truth.
Yes.
We tell the truth.
Because I will come ask you, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm fine. How is your job? Job is going fine. That is the end of the conversation.
Right.
I take it that you are doing fine. I do not even give, I do not ask you, how are you really doing as a person away from the normal things? How are you really doing?
Yeah. Yes, that's the conversation that needs to happen. And then we need to say, honestly, I'm not doing well. Honestly, something's going on, but I don't know what it is. There's something happening. I can't put my finger on it. Be honest.
Always.
Always.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, instead of saying that, how are you doing? Because the doing is keep doing, right?
Yes.
We'll never stop doing.
Right.
But it should be, how are you?
Yes.
And it just, you pause and let the person express themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, with no judgment.
No
but just,
judgment.
How are you?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because the rest of, you know, I am doing well, really it's masking.
It's masking.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it also points out to something that we are talking about creating a safe space for a person to talk about their mental health, how they are really doing. It all narrows down to that. Now I would love to know, is there a certain population or a demographic that is more susceptible to mental health and addiction?
Yeah.
Yes, our children.
Our youth.
Our children and the youth. You know, it's amazing. When they get stressed out, they can't handle it as well as we can as adults. As adults, we tend to tell them, be quiet, you're okay. If boys cry, no, don't cry, you're a boy, don't cry. Or we just want to shut them up, sit them in the corner, be seen and not heard. And that's where the issues start to build up with our children. They don't have the way or the outlet as adults do to say, the adults can say, stop, I can't do this. But children, we tell them to stop, you can't do it. And that's where the issues start to compound, causing them to be overstressed and looking for sometimes suicide by looking at suicide ideation.
Yes. Yeah. Dr. Wangeshi, now when it comes to children and mental health, how would you identify a child has some mental health issues? How would you go about that?
Yeah, that's why we need to, that's a really good question, because back to trauma and childhood trauma, right? We need to create safe environment for our children to make sure that all the bickering that goes on, these dysfunctional homes, you know, mom and dad are fighting, there's chaos in the home. We need to address those issues in a more healthier way so that we can create exactly that, a safe environment for our children. So they're not being exposed to all these traumatic events that happens in our homes.
And when you find them pulling away from you,
yes,
or their grades are going down,
yes,
or they're not laughing like they used to. All those little things that they're doing that may be so minuscule that you don't notice it at first, but you want to be mindful of that because that's their way of pulling back and getting depressed, just not talking. Then you find what Dr. Wengeshi says is happening to them.
And the social media issues. The addiction. I know you're talking about the addiction of alcohol and other substances. The addiction of the social media is destroying our youth, our children, and we need to pay attention to that.
We'll come back to that note, and we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
The issue of social media.
Yes, absolutely. That's good.
It's a cocktail of emotions, the puns that cracks up the family, greed that yields power, and a hunger for success. Trends turn to foes. Survival for the fittest is the drive.
Who are we blackmailing?
But nothing beats the feud in a family where one disappears and another fights for the crown.
It was not supposed to go this far.
It's the desire to succeed that keeps us going, the deception that keeps us digging, and the laughter pill that keeps us living.
What? Are you really helping me have my baby?
Of course I am. It's really an honor for me, honestly.
I didn't start this clinic to get rich, son. I did it to help the people of the town, and I will not let you to destroy it. You should have seen the state Sergio was in. It's not fair, Amparo.
Arturo, what is happening to you? Arturo, what's wrong? Arturo! Oh my goodness! Arturo! Arturo, stay with me, please! Rosa! Rosa!
Welcome back, and the conversation on mental health and addiction continues here on Health Tuesday on Good Morning Kenya. Before we went on a break, Dr. Wengeshi, we are talking about the effects of social media on mental health and addiction. Please continue talking about your point.
Yeah, no, I think the challenge with social media, and I'll give you an example. I have a phone that at the end of the week, every Sunday morning, I get this notification that I've spent 3 hours on my phone. And I would say I'm a very responsible adult when it comes to using my phone and social media. So I imagine whether it's the youth or our children, or even some adults anyway, that spend hours on end. And what that means. We are isolating ourselves. We were not created to be stuck on a gadget and not having healthy conversations and engaging and even having conflicts. Conflicts are good, because then that's how you learn how to manage your own emotions. So it's important for us to be more mindful on how we are using our, our social media, whether it's adults, parents. Sometimes the parents, they want their children to be babysat by whether it's TV or whatever the media platform they're using. We need to be more mindful and understand that the more we continue to use the media, the social media platforms, we are isolating ourselves. It's easier to get depressed, anxiety issues especially.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Tons of anxiety, and I'm sure you can talk more about that.
Yes, yeah. So what I've seen, it's interesting when you're in a public setting, you see everyone on their phone like this. And it is a social experiment because I've discovered it takes away that normal chit-chat, like, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Because we're all like this. I really encourage parents to be mindful. I've heard that so many times in our conversation. Be mindful. What does that mean? It means literally, what am I doing right now? I'm picking up my phone rather than connecting with my child. Your child you are your best child's teacher. Their first teacher, the one that, they learn from. So if you are constantly picking up your phone because you have anxiety or, ooh, this is an uncomfortable environment, they're going to do that too. It just happens.
And also the aspect of online bullying.
Yes.
People are not really mindful of what goes on behind the scenes on social media.
Yes.
Maybe you could talk about how that bullying leads to mental issues and probably addiction.
Absolutely. I've heard of so many stories where people, like celebrities, for example, they have what we call in the U.S. anyway, trolls, meaning people who just write nasty things on someone's social media. Unfortunately, the celebrities are not the only ones that are affected by that. Other people are affected as well. It's so much easier to talk negatively about someone, in that gadget. I would never say anything anyway like that online, but if I were, I would never say it to someone's face. It's so easy to do it online.
Dr. Dussel, still on the issue of social media and its connection to mental health and addiction, how then, especially when it comes to the young ones, how then do we regulate that to avoid those issues?
I am so glad you asked me that question. Because regulation is key. I will suggest to parents, if you do nothing else, you do two things with your children. One is to teach them how to regulate. That means how to control you and not let someone else outside control you. Someone on social media, those people on social media who are speaking negatively to you, they're only doing it because they feel bad about themselves and they want you to feel worse than they feel about themselves. So they say nasty things to you. But if you teach them how to regulate themselves, how to stay in control of how I feel, I am the one in control of me. And I'm not going to let anyone else control, because that gives them power over you when you let them control you. So that regulation is key for parents to help children understand how they go through life is by controlling themselves. The second thing is education, how to read. Reading is the most important skill that we can have, because reading opens the door to everything. Education doesn't improve. Math isn't always just about numbers. Math is about reading. You have to be able to read the information about the numbers. So reading connects everything to your growth and how you move through the world. That's why it's so important to help and make sure our children are getting a good education so they can read and then become self-sufficient. Yes.
Your final word, Dr. Wade.
I'm honored to be here and to talk about mental health. I have a tendency to get so passionate and excited about it. I talk fast about it because it is something that we all have. I don't care what country you're in, your age, you have mental health. I want to reiterate that. Everyone has mental health. I do want to encourage everyone to be mindful, again, be mindful of how you talk about mental health. Do not say, I'm crazy, she's crazy.
Right.
Be very mindful how you word things.
Dr. Wangeshi, quickly as we wrap up.
Yeah, this is a great day that we're having the conversation. That means there's progress. And therefore, we'll continue talking about our own mental health and addiction and the best way we can address these issues.
Yes, Dr. Dussel.
Your mental health is your wealth. Your mental health and your health, that's your wealth. It's not in money. Money can't fix everything. But your mental health, your health, that's where your true wealth lies.
Yes. Dr. Evangeline Wangeshi, Dr. Wade, and Dr. Dawson talking to us about mental health and addiction. This is where we wrap up these matters concerning addiction and mental health on Health Tuesday, na kupokeza kwake Rashid Mwamkondo upande ule mwingine wa studio aweze kukuendeleza kwenye kipindi cha Good Morning Kenya. I have been your host Mike Migwe. Continue enjoying the rest of your viewing.
Wabunge wa wadi za kaunti ya Meru walipitisha hoja ya kuondoa gavana Kawera Mwangaza mamlakani. Hii ilimaanisha kuwa gavana lazima afike tena mbele ya seneti kuhojiwa kuhusu madai ya wabunge wa wadi ya kaunti ya Meru. Baadhi ya tuhuma dhidi ya gavana Kawera Mwangaza ni pamoja na matumizi mabaya ya rasilimali za kaunti, mapendeleo, uajiri bila kufuata masharti na kwa jumla matumizi mabaya ya mamlaka yake kama gavana. Kuna pande zinasema kuwa gavana anaonewa na kwamba apewe nafasi ya kuongoza kulingana na ruwaza yake ya kaunti hiyo ya Meru. Mtazamaji na msikilizaji, hata hivyo swali la muhimu ni je, sheria za kumtimua gavana mamlakani zinafuatiliwa kikamilifu? Na je, sheria hizi ziko na kasoro fulani? Tukumbuke si gavana Kawera Mwangaza pekee amependekezwa kutimuliwa na bunge lake. Kwa kipindi cha miaka 10 ya ugatuzi, magavana mbalimbali wamepoteza kazi au kuponea kwa tundu la sindano. Na hii leo studioni tunao wachanganuzi wa masuala ya siasa na pia tutakuwa tunamtarajia mgeni mwingine, lakini kwa sasa bwana George Kidhi ambaye ni wakili na vile vile mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kisiasa. Karibu sana katika studio zetu.
Asante, shukrani.
Na vile vile bwana David Alulu ambaye ni mchanganuzi wa masuala ya siasa. Mzima?
Shukrani.
Karibu katika studio zetu.
Asante.
Mtazamaji na msikilizaji, mimi naitwa Dora Manya, tutangamane katika mitandao ya kijamii. Naam, wakubwa karibuni studio, na zimesalia dakika chache tu, ama labda kweli kabisa dakika chache, manake mwendo wa saa 3 nafikiri vikao vya bunge la seneti zitakuwa zinaanza. Gavana Kawera Mwangaza katika bunge la seneti anatarajiwa kufika pale. Labda tutarajie nini wakati ambapo atakuwa anafika katika bunge la seneti? Tuanze nayo bwana George Kidhi.
Naam, seneti ni bunge maalum ambalo linazingatia masuala ya mambo ya kaunti. Pili ni kwamba katiba imelipa bunge la seneti mamlaka kama ya mahakama kuu ya kuitisha ushahidi, kuangalia ushahidi na kupitisha maamuzi. Hivyo basi itakuwa ni njia ya kisiasa kwa sababu ni bunge la siasa. Lakini pili na upande mwingine pia liko linafuata kanuni za sheria hususan za mahakama kuu. Kwa hivyo kuna kuleta ushahidi na ule ushahidi pia kukanganywa na kuulizwa ufasaha wake kulingana na maadili ya kisheria, ili mradi kwamba yaweze kutimiza vigezo vya sheria. Kumbuka kwamba Mwangaza ama gavana yoyote anachaguliwa na wananchi moja kwa moja, ambao tunaita demokrasia ya moja kwa moja, direct democracy. Baada ya kipindi cha uchaguzi, ile direct democracy, huwa tunaingia katika kipindi hapo punde baadaye tunaingia katika kipindi cha indirect democracy, ambayo ni representation, ambayo ni demokrasia ya wakilishi. Hapo basi huwa mamlaka yanavuliwa kutoka kwa mwananchi, yanavishwa yule ambaye amechaguliwa kuongoza semi za wananchi kupitia kwa usimamizi wa mawakilishi huo. Ndio sababu seneti ina majukumu matatu. Kwanza ni uwakilishi ambao ni representation. Pili ni utunzi wa sheria ambao ni legislation. Na tatu ni usimamizi ambao ni oversight. Jambo ambalo litafanywa na seneti sasa ni ile oversight. Alafu pili kuna uwakilishi pia, ile representation. Sasa katika mchanganyiko wa maadili hayo na kazi hiyo ya seneti ni kwamba watapiga msasa lililofanywa na bunge la county ambao ni county assembly. Bunge la county linatakikana kwanza, ndio kuna katika mazingira ya utendakazi kuna ule tengamano wa vile wanavyoishi na gavana wao. Kuna yale malalamisho ambao wananchi wanayaleta, hapo ndo wanapata vigezo vya kwanza. Alafu pili, lazima wachukue maoni ya wananchi katika zile lalama ambazo haziko, hususan taarifa zilizoandikwa. Alafu baadaye tutajadili. Baada ya kujadili, spika kipitisha ule mswada ya kwamba basi ameharamishwa ule amuli uchaguzi na hatamu yake imeharamishwa, ndo anaweza kupeleka malalamishi kwa seneti. Ndo sasa tumefika seneti, na seneti itaangalia na kuangaza kama kila kitu ambacho ni maadili ya kisheria na kanuni zimefuatwa, na mjadala utakuwa ni kwamba ushahidi ule utaweza kupigwa msasa na kuangaliwa tena, alafu maamuzi yatafanywa. Naam.
Shukrani sana Bwana George Kidhi. Na nije kwako Bwana David Alulu. Tunafahamu ya kwamba hii si mara ya kwanza kwa Gavana Kawera Mwangaza kuweza kutuhumiwa na vile kufika mbele ya seneti. Na sijui kama mara hii kwa tathmini yako unaona kama ataweza kuponyoka, ikizingatiwa kwamba mara ya kwanza aliweza tuseme kuokolewa na kamati maalum ya seneti ambayo ilikuwa inaongozwa na Seneta Boni Halwale. Tathmini yako kwamba upo uwezekano mara hii ataweza kuponea?
Asante Dora. Kama alivyosema wakili, wajua seneti imepewa yale mamlaka ya kuweza kuchunguza na kudhibitisha yale maamuzi ya County Assembly. Kama ataokolewa ama hataokolewa, hili ni jambo ambalo ni very critical, kwa sababu itazingatiwa kwamba mengi ya mashtaka yaliyoletwa seneti yanafanana na yale mashtaka yaliyokuwepo mara ya kwanza. Nakumbuka wakati wa hearing ya kesi ya kwanza, maseneta wakimwambia fanya jinsi utakavyoweza kushirikiana na viongozi wengine kwenye county ambao ni MCAs na leaders wengine, so that kusikue na mkorofishano na tofauti za kimawazo, kimsingi, kimaendeleo na kisiasa. Manake tatizo moja ambalo gavana wa Meru yuko nalo sasa hivi ni yeye alisimama na akashinda kwa independent ticket, hakusimama na chama chochote. Na mara kadhaa nimesikia akisema anapigwa kisiasa kwa sababu yeye hakusimama na chama chochote. Lakini licha ya kuwa alisimama independent, huyu gavana ana majukumu yeye sasa kujua kwamba licha ya kuwa nimekuja independent, lakini nahitaji kufanya kazi na hawa MCAs ambao wamechaguliwa kwa vyama vya kisiasa, kwa sababu hawezi akafanya maamuzi yake peke yake bila lile bunge la county. So tatizo ambalo lipo, na hata iwapo ataokolewa, I can assure you haitachukua muda mrefu, utaona tena MCA wamerudi na mashtaka mengine. Kwa hivyo sasa hivi kuna tatizo, na hili tatizo ili liweze kutatuliwa, sijui itatumia mbinu ipi. Manake mbinu ambayo ilihitajika pale ni kwamba viongozi wote waheshimiana, lakini kwanza tumeona Meru hiyo heshima imekosekana. Wale MCAs wanahisi gavana wao hawaheshimu. Governor on the other side anamwambia mimi ndio boss, lazima mniheshimu. So kila mtu wale Waswahili wanasema kila mwamba ngoma anavuta kwake. So inakuwa kwamba kumekosa na heshima kati ya viongozi, na kumekuwa na lack of leadership. Na sasa leadership hapa ingetoka kwa gavana, ambapo yeye upande mwingine sasa amekuwa akionyesha kwamba mimi nitafanya maamuzi, mpende msipende. So nafasi ya yeye kuokolewa ni kidogo sana kwa maoni yangu. Lakini
mbona unahisi ya kwamba eti hata kiokolewa hii leo ama kiponyoka, basi huenda tena labda wale wakilishi wadi wakarejea katika njia ile ile?
Kwa sababu nimetumia mfano, aliambiwa mara ya kwanza nendeni mkae chini mzungumze. Hata naibu wa rais akaingilia, akafanya kikao na wale viongozi wote, wakasikilizana, lakini bado viongozi wale wa county ya Meru wamerudi na the same complaint kwamba huyu kiongozi gavana wetu hakubali kufanya kazi na viongozi wengine. Kwa hivyo kama alishindwa mara ya kwanza kuketi chini na viongozi wale MCAs na viongozi wengine wa county mara ya kwanza, hata leo hii akiambiwa rudi kwa county ukae na viongozi wengine, bado kuna ile shida. Juzi kulikuwa na some kind of funny scenario wakati ambapo governor alipatikana akifanya project fulani, alipozungumziwa akakaa juu ya gari ya polisi, akasema sasa mimi nimeambiwa nikae hapa nimeshikwa, and then polisi wanasema tu kuambia umeshikwa. So ile kizaazaa ikaonesha kwangu mimi kwa kuona kwangu si kuona mienendo ya kiongozi. niliona mtu ambaye ana behave kama activist, mtu ambaye anaweka picha kuonekana kwa kwamba nimedhulumiwa. So nafasi ya wale viongozi kurudi tena iko kwa sababu mwanzo nafasi ilipeana ya watu kufanya reconciliation. Ile reconciliation hata kama ilifanywa kwa sababu at some point niliona governor akisema sasa tumesikilizana, tuko tayari kusonga mbele. Muda mfupi baadaye same differences zikaanza kujitokeza tena na imefikia tena ya kurudishwa seneti. So itarudi hapo kwa sababu ya kukosa nia ya kufanya kazi pamoja.
Bwana George Kithi, sijui unasemaje kuhusiana anavyosema Bwana Lulu kwamba huenda hata gavana akiponyoka hii leo wale wakilishi wadi huenda wakaamua tena kurudi katika mkondo ule ule.
Naam, kwanza tuseme hivi kwamba mswada ambao umepelekwa seneti una tathmini ya mara mbili. Kwanza ni ya kisheria au ni legal process, na pili ni ya kisiasa, political process. Na hizo mbili zinategemea, nadhani ambayo linapiku ama lina uwezo zaidi ni la kisiasa. Siasa ambayo itakuja hapo ni siasa ambayo tuko nayo sasa. Wakati alipookolewa kulikuwa na mtafaruku mkubwa sana kati ya upinzani na serikali, na kwa sababu alikuwa katika mazingira yake na mienendo anaegemea upande wa serikali, na serikali iko na nambari kubwa zaidi katika bunge na uwezo wakati ule, nadhani kulikuwa na hali ya upendeleo wa kumweka bado katika uongozi. Wakati huu hakuna maandamano, naona kidogo siku moja siku mbili rais na watu wa upinzani wako pamoja, semi kidogo cheche za siasa zimerudi chini. Kwa hivyo kuna labda tathmini tofauti na mazingira tofauti ya kisiasa ambayo nadhani yatafuatwa zaidi kushinda sheria yenyewe. Hivyo basi kuna uwezekano kwamba safari hii atakuwa na ugumu zaidi wa kujitetea mbele ya seneti kuliko mazingira yaliyokuwa na wakati ule. Pili ni kwamba makosa yakirudiwa huwa, ama jambo likiwa linarudiwa huwa katika vichwa vya mwanadamu likaja likakuwa na ukweli, hata kama ni uongo na rudiwa. Mtu akiwa mahututi sasa akawa yuarega ni kama ataenda haendi, kuna ile siku atakuwa yuaenda apoteze fahamu kisha arudi, ikawa ni bahati yake. Lakini mara ya pili na mara ya tatu kuna ile ataenda na harudi tena. Hivyo basi ni kusema kwamba katika mazingira ya kisiasa na uongozi wa gavana Mwangaza ni kwamba nadhani ako mahali pabaya kwa kwamba anaweza ponyoke ama siponyoke. Mara ya kwanza pumzi zikamrudia akiwa mahututi, lakini safari hii nadhani kwamba atakuwa ni jaribio la pili la pumzi kupotea kabisa zisirudi. Kwa hivyo ni jambo tuliangalia, lakini nadhani inategemea na atakavyocheza siasa hususan za kichama. Na tatu na muhimu ni kwamba katika siasa, kama unasimama katika siasa, kuna chaguzi ambazo utazifanya. Kuna vyama ambavyo vinakusimamia ambavyo vitakusaidia kukupa tikiti ya kusimama. Lakini wapo utaamua ya kwamba utakuwa na urahisi wa kupata kwa sababu utasimama bila chama, kumbuka kwamba utategemea wanachama wa vyama vingine katika utendakazi wako. Kama kutakuwa na mtafaruku wa kisiasa hususan katika ngazi ya juu ama hata ngazi ya mashinani, lakini ikawa kwamba huna uwezo wa kuwakimu wale wanachama wa chama chingine kwa sababu wanasikiza viongozi wao vyama vingine, utakuwa na ugumu. Kwa hivyo labda katika mazingira ya sheria, yule ambaye amechaguliwa bila chama atakuwa na aina gani ya uwiano kati ya yeye na wanachama wengine? Ni hivi ya kwamba ni lazima uwe na fikra ya kuweza kuwavuta karibu. Sasa tumeona watu wa upinzani wakiongea na serikali, watu wa serikali wakiongea na upinzani. Wewe kama huna chama huko upinzani, huko serikalini, una urahisi, tukete ile flexibility, urahisi wa kwenda upande wowote. Lakini ikiwa kwamba utajivuta kando kwa sababu unadhani uko na wale watu ambao kwa mashinani, wale watu wa mashinani unawaongoza kwa sababu ni gavana. Lakini kumbuka wanaongozwa kwa ukaribu zaidi na wakilishi wao wa bungeni katika ngazi ya kaunti. Kwa hivyo usipoleta uwiano kama vile kakangu alivyosema, ni kwamba utakuwa wewe unajipa wakati mgumu. Sasa kumbuka ya kwamba semi za kisiasa zitashika moto kwa makosa yaliyoletwa ama tuhuma ambazo zipo katika seneti, hususan katika siasa inayokuja ambayo itakuwa inaangazia sana mkondo aliofuatwa labda impeachment ya kwanza na ya pili. Kwa hivyo hakutakuwa na urahisi upande wake wa kukimu siasa, hususan tukiingilia katika uongozi.
Ningependa tusonge mbele, lakini kwa labda dakika moja tu, maanake yeye tunajua ni gavana ambaye yuko huru ama alichaguliwa kama independent candidate mlivyosema hapo awali, na kidogo mnavyozungumza ni kama kunaonekana kuna ile tunasema kwa Kiingereza disadvantage ama vipi. Labda angekuwa katika chama, kwa mfano labda mrengo wa Kenya Kwanza ama Azimio, tunaweza kusema gavana angekuwa katika hali ya kuwa na uhakika kwamba ataponyoka mara hii.
Ukiwa sponsored, ukisimamiwa na chama katika uchaguzi, huwa si huko peke yako. Kuna wengine ambao wamechaguliwa katika ile mazingira. Seneta wako, kuna mwakilishi wa wanawake, kuna rais kule juu, alafu chini kuna wale ambao ni wanasimamia wadi ambao ni MCAs. Wale wana kuzunguka na labda kukupa uwezo zaidi, semi zaidi, uwakilishi zaidi katika ngazi tofauti tofauti. Kama seneta wako ako katika bunge na katika chama chako, anaweza kukusimamia katika kupiga msasa mambo ili mradi aweze kunyoka. Kama yeye katika bunge atakuwa wa kwanza kukupinga, na hivyo ana uwezo wa kuongea na wenzake ambao wanafanya kazi pamoja, hususan katika seneta, kuna urahisi zaidi ya kukupa wewe nafasi gumu zaidi ya kujitetea pale. Kumbuka nimesema kuna sheria ambayo lazima ifuatwe, lakini kuna siasa, ni political process ambayo lazima ifuatwe. Siasa katika bunge la seneti inategemea na wanasiasa wenyewe ambao wako pale ndani. Kama hakuna mtu wako ambaye mko katika chama kimoja, basi inaonekana una ugumu zaidi wa kujitetea. Inategemea mandhari ya siasa ilivyo, hususan wakati ambapo unapelekwa. Mandhari ya siasa ambayo iko sasa, sidhani inamwelekeza kwa upendeleo Gavana Mwangaza.
Asante sana. Ningependa tuduel pale, lakini kidogo muda tunao mchache sana leo. Bwana Alulu, nikija kwako, hii leo Gavana Kawira Mwangaza atakuwa anafika mbele ya seneti kwa ujumla, ama kesi yake itakuwa inasikizwa na seneti yote, tofauti na ilivyokuwa hapo awali ambapo alienda mbele ya kamati ambayo ilikuwa imeteuliwa maseneta wachache wakiongozwa na Daktari Boni Halwale. Tofauti ya kusikizwa kwa kesi na seneti nzima na labda kusikizwa mbele ya kamati teule ni gani?
Kabla nijibu hilo, kuongeza tu kidogo alivyosema
kwa ufupi sana lakini
kipi. Juzi Jumapili tulimuona naibu wa rais akiwa Kiambu, kazungumza akasema hizi shida za Kiambu nataka tuzitatue. Tutaita ma MCAs na viongozi wote wa Kiambu tuzungumze, tupate solution. Hiyo ndio benefit ya kuwa chini ya chama.
Na jana wakakutana.
Na kuna uwezekano, licha ya kwa kumekuwa na misukosuko kule Kiambu, kuna uwezekano kukapatikana mbinu mbadala ya kuweza kusuluhisha changamoto zao pasina kwenda kuimpeach governor. So wakati ambapo governor yuko na uhusiano, na unaona kosa kubwa ambalo governor Mwangaza alifanya, na labda hiyo ni kama kujitia kitanzi, ni wakati ambapo yeye anajua kama governor aliyechaguliwa independent hana MCAs independent. MCAs wote ambao anafaa kufanya kazi na wao wana belong kwa vyama tofauti. So ilibidi awe na mahusiano ya kikazi na wao, ambapo hiyo naye ni kama ali-isolate na sasa ananyeshewa mvua akiwa peke yake. Turudi kwa swali ulilouliza. Tulikuwa na kesi ya Bwana Waititu na tukawa na kesi ya Bwana Sonko. Na nakumbuka wakati ule mrengo ule ambao ulikuwa unaongozwa na Jubilee ilikuwa imeshikana na upinzani. Sasa wakawa ni fomu kubwa sana, na wakakataa, wakasema hii kesi ifanyike plenary. Na siku moja Mike Sonko akasema, mimi najua uamuzi ya kuweka plenary ni kunifukuza mapema asubuhi. Lakini ukweli ni kwamba ikifika mahali ambapo imefika kwamba kiongozi sasa itabidi asikizwe kwa plenary, mwanzo tulishaona Gavana Kawira Mwangaza alipewa nafasi ya kwenda committee ambapo ilimsikiza na ikatoa uamuzi wake na ikafanyika jinsi ilivyofanyika. Kamati ama bunge plenary, bado hiyo ripoti ingeletwa, kama ingeenda kamati bado ingeletwa kujadiliwa na Senate. So nadhani hapa tumeenda njia ya mkato kwamba tutajadili na tufanye uamuzi na tumalize hiyo kazi. Kwa hivyo hakuna kupeana siku kadhaa za 10 za kusikiza huko alafu sijui kuja hapa isikize namna gani. Itafanyika mara moja hapa na ikamilike na kazi ifike mwisho. Kwa hivyo sioni kwamba kuna utofauti. Tofauti tu ni kwamba kamati ya watu 11 ni kamati ambapo wanaketi chini wanakusikiza, ni kama jinsi tunavyozungumza, as opposed wakati ambapo huko plenary ya seneta 67 ambapo almost kila mmoja anataka kuwa na jambo ambalo anasema. So naona kana kwamba muda wake yeye kujitetea na hata ule ushahidi ambao unaletwa kuweza kuangaliwa kiundani utakuwa ni mchache, kwa sababu siku hazijaongezwa, licha ya kuwa ni kwamba plenary iko na wabunge wa seneta wengi as compared na 11 members. Kwa hivyo hapa changamoto itakuwa ama yeye atakuwa na shida ya kujieleza kiundani kueleweka. So itabidi zile submissions ambazo zimefanywa, evidence ambayo imeletwa ndio itaweza kumdefend. Ati ikuwe na mambo yote ambayo yanahitaji kushughulikiwa, wakati ambapo senators wata retreat kufanya uamuzi wao watazingatia ile evidence. Lakini nafasi yeye kujitetea nadhani plenary itampatia nafasi kidogo as opposed kwa committee.
Bwana Kidwen, mwanasheria, tofauti iko wapi? Tumesema seneti mbele ya maseneta 67 atajieleza ama atajitetea. Mwanzoni ilikuwa kupitia kamati teule. Tofauti ya kusikizwa katika hali hizi mbili ni gani? Na je, kuna hatari labda kwa gavana Kawera kusikizwa na bunge zima la seneti?
Na nimefanya kazi ya kuwakilisha wateja kwa plenary na pia kwa kamati, na nitakwambia hivi ya kwamba ukipelekwa katika kamati kuna rahisi zaidi wa kujieleza, hususan ukijipanga na makatasi yako ya utetezi na wakili wako, mnapewa wakati zaidi, si wengi pale. Na pia katika kule kulumbana kwa maswali utaweza unawasoma urahisi na kuweza kuwaleta karibu, na huwa mmekaa katika labda mazingira ambayo yanampa yule mtuhumiwa nafasi zaidi, muda zaidi ya kuweza kujizungumzia, kama mwanzangu alivyosema. Tukifika katika plenary, ile ni siasa ambayo inategemea speaker ataipeleka kiasi gani, kwa sababu watu 4 peke yake wakipiga makelele vile ninavyowajua wanaweza kukuzamisha. Na huna nafasi ya kuyavuta yale ule mjadala ukauleta katika hali ya kuumudu control. Watu 11 ama 10 ama 6 wengine hata hawaji, wanaweza baki watu 7 tu pale ndani ya kamati ama 8. Ikawa kwamba kuna urahisi wa kuwavuta mmoja mmoja ukawaeleza na kuwateka fikra zao. Pili, wakija katika plenary, sasa wakija katika umoja wa bunge, wao wenyewe watakuwakilisha kwa kuweka ile report ama kupresent ile report kwanza kulingana na vile mada ilivyokuwa, ili mradi kwamba baada ya kuweka ile mood yale mazingira ya katika plenary ama bunge zima, alafu sasa unashikilia pale ukijieleza. Lakini moja kwa moja mood ni ile ya kwamba sasa umeshtakiwa. Inategemea yule wa kwanza atakavyosema ile mashtaka, vile itakavyosomwa, cheche zitakazokuwa hapo, mazingira ya nje pia yalivyokuwa na vyama walivyokutana na wakapanga. Kwa hivyo kama umepangiwa ya kwamba kila mrengo umepanga kivyake watakavyo kumudu pale katika bunge, huna mazingira ya kujitetea. Hivyo ni kwamba mimi mwenyewe chaguzi la kwanza ni kwamba tuende kamati kabla kwenda plenary. Lakini plenary huwa ni kichinjio. Kule huwa ni kichinjio.
Na hiyo ndio njia ambayo iliondolewa kwa gavana Mike Sonko na Waititu.
Aidha rais apige simu aseme muokoeni. Kama si hivyo pale ni kichinjio. Hivyo ndivyo fanyika bwana Sonko na bwana Waititu, na wote wakaenda kichinjio.
Kwa hivyo heri kamati. Tusonge mbele, muda ni mfupi sana. Nikisalia kwako tuko ufupi, iwapo basi atatimuliwa hii leo, seneta watapiga kura akaweza kubanduliwa, ana njia mbadala ya kuweza kujitetea?
Naam, hata leo kiisha, kama kutakuwa na maamuzi ya kumwondoa kumbandua, bado ataenda mahakama, lazima ataenda mahakamani. Kwanza mahakama itachunguza kama mfumo ulifuatwa ile process, na pia kama zile charges, zile tuhuma ziliambatana na vigezo vya kisheria. alafu baadaye uamuzi utafanywa. Moja kwa moja kumbuka kwa mahakama haitaingilia sana hisia za kisiasa, itaangalia vigezo vya kisheria. Na vile nionavyo ni kwamba bado atakuwa na muda, kwa sababu baada ya mahakama kuu kuna mahakama ya rufaa, anaenda paka mahakama ya upeo. Kwa hivyo ana siku za kuhesabu. Tusitazamie kwamba kesho akitolewa leo, kesho kibanduliwa, kesho ataondoka. Lazima mfumo wa sheria utachukua kumudu hilo jambo mpaka mwisho, tuone vile mahakama ya upeo itakavyosema.
Shukrani sana Bwana Kidhi. Bwana Lulu, tumwangalie Gavana Kawera Mwangaza, na kuna wale wanasema labda huenda akaponyoka kwa mara ya pili, ama wengine wanasema huenda ikawa ni mwisho wake. Lakini wapo basi ataponyoka tena kwa mara ya pili, itakuwa na athari gani kwa mabunge ya kaunti? Manake mchakato wa kubandua magavana haijaanzia katika kaunti ya Meru tu. Tumeona ma MCA katika kaunti mbalimbali, na tumezungumzia Kiambu katika muda mrefu usiopita, ambapo hiyo jana alikuwa na kikao na naibu wa rais. Iwapo ataokolewa kwa mara ya pili, athari kwa mabunge ya kaunti ipo?
Kuna athari kubwa sana, manake itaonekana kana kwamba mchakato wote huu ni jambo tu la kisiasa, halina umuhimu, halina uzito. Wajua, MCAs walipewa hii nafasi kwa sababu wao ndio wana represent wananchi kupitia maeneo yao wakilishi, yani wards. So iwapo gavana huyu atanusurika mara ya pili, itakuwa number one, wale MCAs wamekuwa demoralized in a way kwamba wataweka kigezo kwamba kama sisi tumepewa majukumu ya kuweza kurepresent issues, sababu I don't think waliamka tu asubuhi wakasema tumemchukia huyu mama, tunataka aondoke. Kuna mambo ambayo yalifanyika ambayo yalichochea wao kuweka signature na kuhakikisha kwamba wamemimpeach gavana wao. So wao wataumia kimawazo, wataumia hata kihisia, kwa sababu wao wamefanya kazi yao, lakini kufika kiwango fulani haijaweza kutimika. Lakini kisheria bado, kama alivyosema wakili, seneti iko na uwezo wa kuweza kuchunguza mashtaka yote na kuona kama mashtaka haya yanatosha, yana uzito wa kutosha kuweza kumpeleka gavana nyumbani. So iwapo watapata kwamba haya mashtaka ambayo yameletwa hayana uzito wa kumpeleka nyumbani, na labda MCAs hawakufanya kazi nzuri, then watarudi watawaambia MCAs, licha ya kwa mlileta hii lakini tumeona haikufaa. Kwa mfano, tutumie mfano wa deputy governor wa Siaya. Kesi ilikuwepo, deputy governor wa Siaya alikuwa impeached, ikakuja Senate wakasikiza na wakafanya uamuzi. Na walipofanya uamuzi, deputy governor alirudi, and I'm sure wale MCAs licha ya kuwa hawakufurahia, lakini maamuzi yalikuwa yameshaafikiwa. So nafasi itakuwepo ya MCAs pia, sio tu Meru peke yake, lakini maeneo mengi Kenya. MCAs kuketi chini na kuanza kuinterrogate, labda kuweza kujiuliza swali, tumeharakisha kufanya maamuzi, tungelipata muda wa kutosha kuweza kutafuta ushahidi wa kutosha ili tuweze, yani hata unapopeleka kesi kotini unataka kupeleka kesi ambayo iko watertight. Unajua hii kesi ina nafasi kubwa ya kushinda. Huwezi ukapeleka kesi for the sake of taking, not unless ukue wakili tapeli, unataka kutapeli mteja wako. Lakini kama ni wakili mzuri, kabla upeleke kesi mahakamani, unataka kuinterrogate na kuhakikisha kwamba hii kesi ina uzito na tuko na nafasi ya kushinda na mambo kama yale. So itakuwa ni demoralizing kwa representation at the county level, kwa sababu wale ni viongozi wanawakilisha wananchi. So seneti nataka kuamini kwamba hawataifanya kwa hisia, sababu nimesikia watu wakisema governor anaonewa kwa sababu ni mama, wengine wanasema anaonewa kwa sababu hana chama. Lakini wajua
hapo watu, kwa mama governor anaonewa kwa sababu ni mama.
Haiwezekani kuwa anaonewa kwa sababu ni mama, kwa sababu akili zangu zinaniambia hata wakati alienda kwa ballot watu kupiga kura walijua ni mama. Lakini sababu Kenya tuna wamama wengine ambao wamefanikiwa kupata ugavana. Gavana wa Kirinyaga kwa mfano alikuwa na kesi ya impeachment, akaenda seneti, na kule seneti akasikizwa na baadaye uamuzi ikafikiwa kwamba hata impeachiwa, akarudishwa. Aliporudi alienda kukaa na viongozi wake, wakasikizana. Hao viongozi ndio walimsaidia kupata the second term.
Lakini gavana amesikika akisema kwamba kuna watu hawajakubali kwamba gavana ni mama.
No, unajua hiyo ni personal feelings. Mimi nikifeel kana kwamba nimeonewa, nitaanza kusema watu wananionewa kwa sababu mimi ni mrefu ama mimi ni Mluya kutoka kule Western, ndio sababu haijafanyika hivi. Kila mtu ana hiyo hisia, personal emotions. Lakini hapa sioni kama ni jambo la busara kiongozi kama Governor Kawira na viongozi wengine wote ambao wanaweza tumia hiyo lugha kusema kwamba mama anaonewa kwa sababu yeye ni mama. Hapa hakuna umama, hapa ni kiongozi wa county.
Shikilia pale, hapa hakuna umama. Bwana Kidhi, mwelekezi wangu ananipeleka mbio kidogo, na iwapo gavana atatimuliwa kisheria, naibu wake anafaa kuchukua mamlaka kuendeleza uongozi. Na tunajua mara nyingi wale manaibu wanakuwa kwamba wamechaguliwa na wale magavana. Labda anaweza kuwa rafiki yake, mtu ambaye amempendelea yeye. Hatari ni gani labda? Manake kama aliondolewa kwa misingi ya sera, basi tunatarajia kwamba yule naibu ataendeleza zile sera tu ambazo yule gavana ameondolewa amekuwa nazo. Je, hatari ni gani, na labda sheria zinafaa zibadilishwe kuhusiana na hilo?
La hasha, kwamba naibu ataongoza kama gavana alibanduliwa. Nadhani kwanza ni ilani kwa naibu kwamba sisi tulimbandua huyu kwa sababu ya makosa aliyofanya, tuhuma ambazo tulimpa na tukamwelekezea. Kwa hivyo yeye ana urahisi zaidi wa kubadili. Pili, tumeona magavana manaibu wa gavana ambao washachukua hatamu na wakamaliza hatamu. Nadhani mmoja hapo ya karibu katika fikra ni Nyeri. Yeye hakubanduliwa, lakini kuna gavana ambaye alipoteza maisha yake kisha makamu wake akachukua. Hivyo ni kumaanisha ya kwamba kuna labda uwezekano wa kubatili uongozi, kwa sababu kumbuka yule naibu pia amechaguliwa, alipigwa msasa na akachaguliwa. Wote walikuwa na haki ya kupigwa msasa na walipigwa msasa na akachaguliwa. Hivyo ni kwamba mfumo wa kuweka naibu wa gavana ni kwanza kuwapa nafasi ya wananchi kuendeleza hatamu ya uchaguzi ya uongozi badala. Kwa hivyo huwa wanachagua gavana, lakini kama si huyu basi atakuwa wapili wake, ipo atabadilika ama ataondoka kwa njia yoyote ile ya kisheria ambayo imewekwa. Pili ni kwamba si sawa katika serikali ya mazingira serikali, hususan mambo ya kiuchumi, kwamba kila wakati tunafanya uchaguzi. Kwa mfano kwa sasa aidha gavana akifariki dunia ama kibanduliwa tu tunarudi kwa uchaguzi tena. Hilo likawa kwamba si vizuri, kwa sababu uchaguzi ni kwanza unasitisha hali ya uongozi na maendeleo, na pili ni ghali mno. Kwa hivyo ndo tukaweka hali ya kuendeleza uongozi ambao ni successive process, ambao inafanya kwamba gavana wa kwanza, gavana ambaye amechaguliwa akiondoka, basi wa pili atachukua. Ni muhimu kwamba yule gavana wa pili, nadhani anamezea mate ama hamezei mate, labda anamsaidia ama hamsaidii. Lakini kama anamezea mate na huyo aondolewe, basi moja kwa moja anachukua uongozi. Akichukua uongozi ni muhimu, labda ni mwanaume, nadhani ni mwanaume, ni muhimu ya kwamba aendeleze uongozi wake akijali maslahi ambao ndo yamekuwa yameleta tuhuma kwa gavana wa kwanza.
Nataka tuende upande wa pili, tupokee simu chache. Tuaja kwako Cynthia katika muda usiokuwa mrefu, lakini Bwana Lulu kwa dakika moja tafadhali. Katika uongozi wa wanawake, gavana Kawira mwangaza baadhi ya wanawake wachache viongozi magavana. Iwapo atabanduliwa, athari ipo katika uongozi wa wanawake kwenda mbele? Maanake tumekuwa tukipigania kwamba kuwe na usawa katika uongozi hapa nchini, ile wakilishi wa wanawake. Iwapo atabanduliwa, tutakuwa tumerudi nyuma kuhusiana na uongozi wa wanawake?
Hamna, hatakuwa tumerudi nyuma, kwa sababu licha ya kuwa kumekuwa na kampeni ya kuempower wanawake kwenye masuala ya uongozi, lakini hii empowerment haijawekwa ili tuwalete wanawake wavivu kuja kufanya kazi na kuharibu. Sababu akizungumziwa atasema mimi ni mwanamke, msiniguze, tunalinda mazingira. So nadhani hakuna vacuum. Nimesema pale mwanzo, tuna viongozi wengine. Tuko na governor very able wa Homa Bay, Gladys Wanga, anafanya kazi nzuri. Tuko na governor wa Embu, ni mama Cecily, anafanya kazi nzuri. Nakuru namna hivyo, na Kirinyaga na wengine, viongozi ambao wamechaguliwa kama wamama. So sidhani tabia ya mtu mmoja itatumika kama ya kuadhiri the platform. Kama kuna mama mmoja au mwanadada mmoja amefanya makosa, yeye aadhibiwe kama binadamu, sio kama mwanamke. Tusiende tukijudge na gender. To judge individually, kama mtu ana tabia ambazo hazileti heshima, ahukumiwa, aadhibiwe pale pale. Akiondolewa, yule atakayekuja baadaye atakuja akijua, licha ya kuwa nimepata nafasi hii kama mwanamke, nikiharibu sitahurumiwa sababu mimi ni mwanamke. Hakuna makosa ya mwanamke na mwanamume. Kiongozi ni kiongozi, ukishapata uongozi, na ukiharibu umeharibu kama kiongozi.
Ashikilia pale. Ningeomba mvalie hivi vidude. Tuna upande wa pili wa studio tukaweze kupokea simu chache. Mtazamaji wa KBC Channel na vile vile msikilizaji wa Radio Taifa, tutazungumzia mchakato mzima wa kumbandua gavana. Kumbuka gavana Kawera Mwangaza ana siku 2 za kujitetea mbele ya seneti, na mara hii si kamati teule bali seneti kwa jumla. Cynthia, hapo unanipata? Tunaweza kupokea simu chache?
Kweli kabisa Dora Manya, asante sana, pamoja na wageni wetu hapo George Kithi na David Alulu. Nimewasikia vizuri sana, lakini mimi nasema bado wanawake wapatiwe nafasi. Haya, piga simu basi msikilizaji kwa 0700176699. Radio Taifa, hello.
Hello, tamo Cynthia Nyango.
Yes. Karibu sana.
Ningependa kuuliza hawa wachanganuzi wetu, na wakati mwingine tunatuletea wachanganuzi wanawake ndio tuoje hao tukiwa wanasema nini. Ningependa kujua mbona ni rahisi sana kumnyatua gavana kushinda kuondoa MCA, na hawa MCA kama watoriki mashinani kuuliza wananchi.
Asante, wamesikia swali lako, manake wengine wao wanasema ni kama ambaye MCA saa nyingine wanataka kupatiwa kitu kidogo. Radio Taifa.
Hello KBC.
Unaongea
na Mbingo wa Bungoma.
Karibu, habari ya Bungoma?
Mimi naona wamechanganuka vizuri. Sasa mimi nawauliza.
Yes.
Ati wafanyie kazi pamoja kama viongozi. Na rais akifanyia pamoja na bunge, wananchi wako salama saa hii hapa Kenya. Na je, hata angalia saa hii vile Bungoma vile iko. MCA wanafanya na gavana. Hata wezi na pesa ya Bungoma hii. Hata tulikuwa na orodha ya namba 3.
Haya, kidogo network yako si nzuri, lakini tumesikia swali lako. Nataka pia nishike simu nyingine ya mwisho, na ndio maana mimi huwa Jumanne niko na wanawake na uongozi, manake bado naona wanawake hatujapatiwa nafasi ya kutosha bwana. Mwanamke akisema inasemekana kwamba eti ni mvivu. Radio Taifa. Radio Taifa, nashika ya mwisho Dora, alafu naja kwako.
Hello Dora.
Yes.
Jana wala nimeshutua nimeshutuka, lakini nimejaribu kuingia hewani sikupata kabisa. Ameditawa huyo.
Swali lako Mohamed, tafadhali.
Wewe ukienda huagi na ukija huagi. Hata wacha kwanza sana baadaye hayo. Waende kwenye swali langu. Mimi swali langu Dora. Na wauliza hawa wachanganuzi hawa. Huyu akiondolewa, unaona kwa mfano akiondolewa, ikiwa kuna uchaguzi akija, manake amechaguliwa na wananchi ndio kuwa yeye gavana, akiingia arena kwenye uchaguzi akiwa tena amefaulu, itakuwaje sasa?
Asante sana. Haya, kwako Dora. Nakumbuka kwamba Kawera Mwangaza aliingia independent. Haya, kwako Dora.
Shukrani sana Cynthia Nyango. Anafanya kipindi, anakuwa na nafasi ya wanawake na uongozi. Ndio nasikia anatetea sana wanawake, huenda akawa mkereketwa. Lakini kutokana na hayo ambayo yametukia, labda nani anataka kurespond wa kwanza? Tuna dakika kama 3 tu kuweza kumaliza kwa sababu ya kuelekea katika bunge.
Na wacha nichukue swala ambalo limesemekana kwamba kama kuna ushirikiano kati ya rais na bunge, ambao ndio lalama ambazo zimekuwako hasa katika upinzani, na kwamba tukilivuta chini gavana na bunge wao wana uwiano. Yes, katika ile kazi ya utendakazi utaharibika, utafurujika kwa sababu wako katika tukasema in bed together, yani wana ushirikiano na kwa hivyo hawakosoani. Ni kwamba kushirikiana kwanza ni kukosoa kwa dhati, ambapo unamkosoa mtu ili mradi kwamba aweze kuwajibika zaidi, lakini kumkosoa huko ukawa kwamba kuna katika mazingira ya utunzi wa sheria na ile oversight ambao nimesema ni usimamizi. Iwapo ya kwamba tuhuma hizo zina maadili basi lazima hatua ziweze kuchukuliwa. Nadhani ya kwamba tuhuma ambazo ziko hapa kwa Mwangaza zina udukuduku za ukaribu na ukweli. Iwapo ukweli huo unashirikiana ama una uwiano na vigezo vya sheria ni tofauti, lakini hisia, tuseme hisia za mwananchi akiwakilishwa na watu wa bunge ama wakilishi wa bunge la kaunti ni kwamba wana kutokubaliana na mtafaruku na uongozi huo. Kwa hivyo lazima upigwe msasa. Kuna mambo mawili hapo. Kwanza, labda aulizwe maswali kwa mtafaruku huo ili aweze kujirekebisha, kama ilani aliyopewa mara ya kwanza alipoletwa bungeni. Pili ni kwamba kama hairekebishiki na kama hakuna mwongozo unaweza kupeanwa ili kuweza kupatila ama kurekebisha, basi moja kwa moja iweze kutimuliwa. Ni kwamba vile vigezo vya sheria vimeweza kukubalika na kuna uwiano kati ya tuhuma na sheria. Kwa hivyo nadhani kwamba mazingira hayo inategemea ya case to case basis, yani tuhuma vile zinavyokuja na zikiwa katika mizani ya sheria vile itakavyokuwa. Kumbuka nimesema ya kwamba kuna sheria na siasa. Kama siasa hata iendesha vizuri, hata sheria kama ipo bado kutakuwa na usumbufu wa kisiasa kama inavyojiri kwa sasa.
Ameuliza msikilizaji na mtazamaji mmoja kwamba mbona inakuwa rahisi sana kumbandua gavana mamlakani?
Sio rahisi kumbandua gavana mamlakani kwa sababu tu moja, ma MCAs wamepewa nafasi kule kwenye county kuweza kuchunguza kiongozi wao kwa kiwango cha gavana kwa ukaribu. Wajua rais, kwa mfano, acha tu compare rais na gavana. Rais anawakilisha taifa nzima na wabunge kitambo waje. Ndio kwa sababu unaona kuna uhusiano wa karibu sana wa executive na legislature. Rais unapata anataka sana awe na wabunge walio kwenye chama chake ili waweze kumprotect, sababu kwa siasa you must be protected. Bila hiyo security, political security, you are not safe at all. Watu wanaweza amka asubuhi moja na wakaamua wewe lazima uende nyumbani. Kwa hivyo uraisi hasa kwa kesi kama hii ambayo tumepata ya Meru County imekuja kwa sababu ya kutokuwa na ule uhusiano na ukaribu kati ya gavana na viongozi wale wengine ambao ni MCAs. Kwa hivyo sio rahisi vile kumtoa gavana, lakini wakati ambapo mwanzo hakuna ule uhusiano wa kikazi inakuwa ni rahisi. Na namba mbili, wakati ambapo kunakuwa na changamoto ya kutumia kifua kwa mfano, kesi scenario ni hii ya Meru ambayo tuko nayo, ambapo lugha inaanza kujitokeza kwamba mimi ni mwanamke ndio kwa sababu nadhulumiwa.
Labda kidogo shikilie pale watazamaji wetu wa Channel 1 kidogo, nitakuwa na rejesho upande wa pili wa studio kwa matangazo zaidi, lakini upande wa redio tuweze kuendelea na mazungumzo haya. Shukrani zaidi kuzidi kufuatilia. Asante Bwana Lulu.
So uta-realize kwamba changamoto ambazo zinapatikana pale zinakuja kwa sababu ya kesi ya kutokuwa na ushirikiano.
So if you should choose Jah, you're serving the Lord, your Creator. The sins of the Father are visited from all in a never-ending circle.
Celebrating the fact that Danielle and Carolina are now husband and wife legally. They just got married.
It was a mistake to fall in love with him. I was his brother's wife.
I know, my friend, but please stop torturing yourself with this.
I knew it! I had a feeling you were going to tell me something like this. How could you?
You're going to keep your mouth shut, Carolina. There is no way that I will let you talk. I swear that if you say one word, I will...
What? Are you really helping me have my baby?
Of course I am. It's really an honor for me, honestly.
I didn't start this clinic to get rich, son. I did it to help the people of the town. And I will not let you to destroy it. You should have seen the state Sergio was in. It's not fair, Amparo.
Arturo, what is happening to you? Arturo, what's wrong? Arturo! Oh my goodness! Arturo! Arturo, stay with me, please! Rosa! Rosa!
Why would you do something like that? Come on, that cat is my pet. You threw my cat out.
I never expected my mom to say that to us. I also thought she was being unfair. My mom doesn't get to dictate if or when I marry you. You know that.
Have you forgotten where we are right now? You can't hold my hand.
I'm not allowed to hold my girlfriend's hand?
Hey,
I'm going up the escalator now.
I suggest you go see a doctor and leave me alone.
I'm insane because I miss you too much. Cheyenne, I was wrong.
Music can be magical. It's the soulful life and gives immense peace to us. It has a powerful therapeutic effect on the human side. Whether secular or gospel, there's a song for everyone, every occasion, and every emotion.
God bless you.
What? Are you really helping me have my baby?
Of course I am. It's really an honor for me, honestly.
I didn't start this clinic to get rich, son. I did it to help the people of the town. And I will not let you to destroy it. You should have seen the state Sergio was in. It's not fair, Amparo.
Arturo, what is happening to you? Arturo, what's wrong? Arturo! Oh my goodness! Arturo! Arturo, stay with me, please! Rosa! Rosa!
Have these accusations investigated and determined at the committee stage or be forwarded or considered at the plenary. It was a heated motion with members getting an opportunity to give their opinions on whether the accusations should be investigated and determined at the plenary sitting. And at the end of the day, the side that was pushing for the investigations and determination of the case be had at plenary had their way. This morning, the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi, will be communicating to the House, guiding the House on how the process will be undertaken from 9 a.m. Remember, the sitting is scheduled to start at 9 a.m. So these members will be walking into the chambers. Of course, the Speaker will also get into the chamber and give a communication to the senators on how this whole proceeding or this whole sitting and the hearing will be taking place. Remember, after the sitting starts at 9 a.m. or once the chair is taken, the members will be retreating to have a pre-hearing meeting of the senators in a closed door session. Then they will be resuming to the chambers at around 11 according to the order of business for the day, and then the hearing will be open to the public. But a look at what exactly this governor faces is that when the Senate received the resolutions from the County Assembly pursuant to Standing Order 80 over the House on the procedure for removal of a governor, is that within 7 days after receiving notice of a resolution from the Speaker of a County Assembly supporting the removal of a governor of a county, of course, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution,